This podcast is brought to you by Reynolds & Reynolds, the industry leader in automotive technology. Learn how Spark AI, Reynolds' unified AI data layer, can help you unlock your full potential by visiting rey.com/spark-AI. That's rey.com/spark-AI.
Welcome to Daily Drive for Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. I'm Jamie Butters, Executive Editor of Automotive News in Detroit.
And I'm Jake Neer in Detroit, in for Kellen Walker. Today on the show, Renault names an interim CEO, Tesla's North America sales chief exits, and two automakers look to move production to underutilized plants in the U.S. Plus, the FTC has a new tool to help dealers navigate the safeguards rule. Our own Paige Hodder talks about what questions it answers about the regulations and the Trump administration's attitudes toward dealerships.
It's not something you can be one and done. It's something you have to be thinking about regularly and making sure that no new vulnerabilities arise to really protect that customer data.
Let's run through all the news you need to know to keep up in the auto industry.
Renault has named Duncan Minto as interim CEO. He'll lead the French automaker while it searches for a permanent replacement for Luca de Meo. De Meo resigned suddenly last month after 5 years at the helm of Renault. He'll join luxury group Kering in September. Minto will take over running the company effective today. Before assuming the role, he was Renault Group's CFO. He has been with the company since 1997.
Tesla's top sales executive in North America, Troy Jones, has left the electric vehicle maker in the latest senior departure at the company. That's according to a report from the Wall Street Journal, citing people familiar with the matter. Jones has been with the company for 15 years. Tesla has seen a wave of high-level executive departures since early last year. They include key figures such as CEO Elon Musk's confidant, Omid Afshar, Chief Battery Engineer Drew Baglino, and Global Public Policy Head Rohan Patel. Tesla and Jones did not immediately respond to Reuters' request for comment.
Nissan is developing a comprehensive body-on-frame product strategy for its 4.7 million square foot factory in Canton, Mississippi. That's according to a person with knowledge of the plan who spoke with us at Automotive News. The plan involves onshoring production of two Japan-made flagship SUVs and building a pair of new pickup-based utilities alongside the mid-size Frontier truck that Nissan builds in Canton today. The person says new products could increase the plant's output by more than 200,000 vehicles, nearly doubling the 211,000 Frontiers and Altima sedans built there last year. The news comes as Nissan also announces it will follow through on its plans to shutter vehicle output at its main plant in Japan. The automaker said in a statement today the Opama plant in Kyushu will cease production by March 2028.
Meanwhile, another overseas automaker is looking to move more production to the U.S. amid tariffs. Volvo Cars plans to begin production in the States of its two most popular crossovers within the next few years to avoid paying a profit-sapping 30% tariff on the imported models. According to two people familiar with the plan, Volvo will start building the midsize XC60 in January 2027 at its factory northwest of Charleston, South Carolina. Production of the full-size XC90 would follow in October 2028. Both nameplates are currently imported from Sweden. And those are today's headlines. So, Jamie, a lot of reshuffling of people and strategies in today's news. Let's pick one out for now. What do you make of this sort of wave of high-level departures at Tesla, obviously capped off today with the resignation of Troy Jones?
Yeah, Tesla's been under a lot of pressure. Their sales are down, even while other automakers are growing EV sales. So their share is falling. There's under a lot of price pressure in China and here in the U.S. Elon Musk, got out of his government work, continues to feud with the president occasionally, but he's, brought all his disruptive energy back into his companies. We've seen all these changes at Tesla. Of course, Tesla's under a lot of pressure, but also Lindy Yaccarino, the CEO at X, formerly Twitter, is leaving the company as well. So he's ruffling a lot of feathers back at his companies. Of course, maybe his favorite company is SpaceX, and that seems to Gwynne Shotwell is the head there, and she seems to stay firmly in place. But Tesla was having a lot of disruption.
And then going back to sort of that broader point of a lot of reshuffling happening, we've been seeing it over the past weeks and months. Is this consistent with what you've experienced over your career in times of like pretty big disruption in the industry?
Well, yes, when you consider the companies that are seeing this happen. I mean, Tesla is the most valuable automaker in the world, not counting its own history, the most valuable ever. But it's under a lot of pressure, like we said. Well, Renault's under a lot of pressure with their partnership with Nissan. Nissan's had a lot of turmoil. You look at the companies that are feeling it, that are needing to turn things around, and they're the ones making changes.
Really good stuff, Jamie. Coming up, we'll look at a new tool from the FTC to help dealerships navigate the safeguards rule. That's next on Daily Drive.
As your business gets more complex, it feels like productivity can't go any higher. You need a way to move forward to a future where you don't have to start every interaction from scratch. You don't have to search for actionable information. You don't have to manually pull data to make decisions. You need a future where the complex is made simple and you can do more with less. How do you get there? It all starts with a spark. Unlock your full potential with the next generation of automotive dealership technology that actually does some of the heavy lifting for you by texting leads, transcribing calls, making data-backed recommendations, and boosting your overall productivity so that you can spend your time and energy on what truly matters: selling cars and growing your business. Spark AI, Renault's unified AI data layer, can empower your dealership to operate more efficiently and effectively than ever before, so you can do more, sell more, and make more. To learn how Spark AI can help your dealership reach its full potential, visit rey.com/spark-AI today. That's rey.com/spark-AI to learn more.
Daily Drive listeners like you have access to the lowest price for Automotive News Congress 2025 on September 11th.
The event is where the industry's biggest players tackle its toughest challenges. Congress attendees don't just follow the industry, they lead it.
This year's featured speakers include Hyundai Motor Group Executive Chair Yusin Chung and General Motors CEO Mary Barra.
We are investing in America. We're creating jobs. That's creating IP in this country. And I think, the United States needs to lead in key technologies.
Join us to gain the insights and connections needed to steer your business through massive change.
To get the lowest price for the event, go to autonews.com/events, select Auto News Congress, and type in the discount code Daily Drive, one word, all caps. We'll see you in September in Detroit.
Welcome back to Daily Drive. I'm Jake Neer with Jamie Butters. The Federal Trade Commission's Safeguards Rule requires financial institutions, which includes car dealerships, to develop and maintain an information security program to protect consumer data. The rule dates back to 2003 and saw major amendments in 2021 and 2023. It's also sparked plenty of questions and concerns from dealers. Last month, the FTC published a series of frequently asked questions and answers about dealerships' information security obligations. Paige Hodder covers dealership finance and insurance for us at Automotive News. She joins me now to talk about what the FAQ answers and what it says about how much of a priority the FTC is putting on dealership compliance. Paige Hodder, welcome back to Daily Drive.
Thanks for having me.
So why is it significant that the FTC put out this frequently asked questions section in the first place, especially where we sit here sort of in the middle of 2025?
Yeah, so from what I heard from my sources, the significance is that it is a very clear indicator that the FTC is thinking about dealerships and specifically thinking about them related to the safeguards rule. The last time they made significant amendments was about 2 years ago. And, I think in the world of compliance, there's a lot to keep track of when it comes to dealerships. So sometimes I think it's hard to keep up to date and keep active with all of these things. But, everyone I spoke to said like this is a really strong indicator that the FTC is thinking about dealerships and the safeguards rule. It's, paying attention to dealerships. It's aware of how dealerships work and like really, making that an area of, it's not been ignored. It's not like it's forgotten and, you don't really have to worry about it. It's something you really need to be actively thinking about because the FTC is actively thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what I thought when I saw this. The FTC is active, that there was a lot of questions about how the FTC would function after so many cuts, after, the whole administration sort of went through this big cost-cutting and sort of deregulation position and kind of turn from the Biden administration. So it's interesting to me that this kind of shows like, yeah, we're still paying attention here.
Exactly.
So what's new in here? Do we have anything that sort of, is that dealers really need to know that maybe was not clear before?
So nothing in the FAQ is like new news. It's not a new rule. It's not new law or legislation or anything like that. But it is really direct. It is dealership focused. And it takes you through some very specific examples. And, it really drives home the point that the FTC considers car dealerships if they finance vehicles or if they arrange the financing of vehicles, which I think we both can agree the vast majority, if not all, car dealerships do, are financial institutions. And so they must comply with the safeguards rule, and they must comply actively and thoughtfully with that rule.
Now, in terms of the questions that dealers have been asking about the safeguards rule, I mean, it was a big deal when this came out, and they knew that they were going to have to really change a lot of what they were going to do, but it wasn't clear necessarily what was expected of them. So what questions have they been answering that maybe this will help clarify?
Yeah, so I think one of my sources that I spoke to talked about, the differences between dealerships and banks when it came to the safeguards rule. By the time, some of these more recent amendments came around, banks had a lot of this stuff in place already. They knew they had vulnerable information, and when the rule came down, it wasn't a surprise, and they didn't actually have to catch up all that much because they had already been taking a lot of these measures, whereas dealers had a lot to catch up on. They had not considered themselves in the same realm as banks and hadn't been thinking about their customer information as seriously. And so one of the parts that stood out to me and to my sources was a lot of the discussion around dealer relationships with second parties and business parties. So it's the automakers, it's vendors, it's anyone who the dealership might share customer information with. And the FAQ really digs into some nitty-gritty examples on do's and don'ts and how those situations vary. So for example, if a dealership is providing information to an automaker for a recall, very basic, the name of the person, the type of car that they have, their address or maybe their phone number so that they can be contacted about a recall notice. In that situation, the dealer does not necessarily have to take as many precautions with the automaker because they're not divulging like financial status and financial details. They're not saying whether the car was leased or financed or, anything like that. It's more just like basic information. But if you're dealing with a vendor who has access to, all that data, you got to take some steps to make sure that you're protecting yourself and that your vendor is protecting your customers' data. And so, for example, that might mean requiring your vendor to use two-factor authentication when they're accessing that data just to really make things secure.
So obviously there's a lot in here. How can dealers and other dealership employees really use this to help them out as they figure out where things stand with safeguards? What is the best way for them to, kind of utilize this new tool?
Yeah, so it gives a lot of specific examples. Obviously big dealership groups have giant legal and compliance departments, but even at a single store company, you should have a compliance expert who really takes the time to sit with this document and make sure they move through the questions, identify areas of improvement. And if they have questions, talk to their lawyer, really make sure there's no question marks, no areas of confusion coming out of this document. And I think, another point that my sources really emphasize for this story is the FTC doesn't want you to file some paperwork, check some boxes, have a checklist, or have a security seminar once. They want you to be actively thinking about your information security, actively testing it, updating it, being aware of the types of, is a software you're using going out of date? Does that make it vulnerable? And really making it an active process. It's not something you can be one and done. It's something you have to be thinking about regularly and making sure that no new vulnerabilities arise to really protect that customer data.
Paige Hodder covers retail F&I for us at Automotive News. Paige, thanks for this information. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks so much for having me.
That's Daily Drive for today. I'm Jamie Butters.
And I'm Jake Neer, in for Kellen Walker. Thanks to Automotive News journalist Urvaksh Karkaria for his reporting for today's podcast. You can get the latest news on retail F&I, personnel news, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com.
Come back tomorrow for a conversation with Cal Langton, Chief Commercial Officer at Redwood Materials, about how the company is now repurposing used EV batteries in energy storage systems.
Effectively, what started as a demonstration project is now the largest Second Life battery deployment in the world and the largest microgrid in North America, powering a real AI data center at lower cost than the grid.
We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show and the topics we covered today. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. And if you enjoyed the podcast, remember to leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.